everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while. So for today's video, I decided that I was gonna show you how I am doing my bullet journaling. Recently, at the beginning of this year, I started bullet journaling for the first time, and I was gonna record the first 2 months, but it's kind of more of like a practice time for me to get used to everything. So finally, for the month of March, I decided to finally sit down and film the process for you. So for this month's theme, I went with succulents and mostly like the color greens as well. Okay, so to begin, I accidentally messed up and didn't like how I accidentally drew a line through the March. So to fix that, I decided I was going to do a little watercolor piece to like put over top. So how I did that was I took a blank note card with no lines and used a watercolor pen to map out the lettering in just water with a little bit of paint in it so you can see the line. And then taking multiple shades of like greens and purples, I kind of mimicked the succulent colorings I used throughout the spread. While I waited for that to dry, I continued to doodle little succulents all over the page, and I got most of my inspiration for this whole spread through Pinterest. As you can see, scrolling on the left side of the screen is all of my inspiration succulent doodles. Now for coloring in the succulents, I use a mixtures of greens and really super light bluish greens and a pop of purple using different Crayola markers and some other markers I forgot the name of, so I'll put that in the description. And I just mostly shaded them in those greens and using little pops of purple here and there. And then to finish off the note card that we were working on earlier, I just wrote the word March inside of it using a black Tombow brush pen and just taped it on the page. And I decided to add in a few more succulents because the page looked a little bare. So next, on to the monthly calendar, I decided to do the square method of doing the squares in 7x7. You putting 4 on the one page and 3 on the other, and it was 5 down. And then for every box, I did a drop shadow and alternating the greens, and then I did another drop shadow in the black. And then I used a little bit of sparkly watercolor to place a little square in the left top corner. And then I just wrote the days of the week over on top. And then I filled in the days just in no fancy matter. And I also wrote March on the top. And then over on the right hand side, I wrote a little section for notes and a cute little succulent in a plant. And I drew some more succulents to fill the empty space that was on top next to the word March. So far, I really like how this theme is turning out. This was actually my 3rd attempt at this theme, so I'm glad it's going well. So moving on to the next pages, I usually do a mood and anxiety tracker because those are the two things I tend to want to keep track of. So for the mood tracker, I just drew a very large succulent in the middle of the page. So I added a shadow to alternating petals, leaves, whatever you call them on these succulents. And then I added in the days to each petal. And so for this, I just added in all of the different moods at the very bottom. And what you're going to do basically is just color in the petal to the corresponding day with what mood you feel, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then for the top, I just scribbled in the two different colors of green and just wrote mood succulent. So then I felt like the page was a little bare, so I added in a cute little potted succulent at the bottom. So for the anxiety tracker, I started off with this little doodle teacup with some drop shadowing around it, and then drew the little leaves coming out from the top with all the dates on them. So for then inside the teacup, I had little alternating succulent drawings with the white spacing in between, so it's more kind of like printed succulents on the teacup. And then I just wrote the anxiety tracker on the bottom from the teacup, and then on the very bottom of the page I wrote down like the different ways I like to track the anxiety part of this. For the next page, I like to do a social media tracker. This part is obviously optional considering this is mostly for my editing account. So I like to keep track of the growth on there because, you know, Instagram's being stupid. And it's really hard to grow any smaller account on there right now. So I'm trying to do my best. So this is how I try to organize everything. So I first started off by writing the word social media. And I drew those, firstly I drew those two like plant holders, and then I drew the plants coming from them, and then I decided I needed to add a third one. And then I wrote the words idea below the one, posted, and achievements. So basically what I do is I write all my ideas that I want to get accomplished this month in the one, achievements I might have accomplished in the other one, and which edits I posted in the other pot. And then at the very bottom I draw a very small little calendar so I can keep track of what days I posted the edits, and then I make a little petal for my main Instagram and another one for my editing Instagram, and I color coordinate the different leaves so I know which day I posted on what account, so I can keep track of that because I'm terrible at posting on my main account. And then at the very top, I decided to break away from the succulent theme a little bit and draw a cactus. And this is going to be my following tracker part. So basically, I just drew the cactus, and part of it got cut off, but I started numbering at what I was at the start of the month and what I hope to achieve at the top of the month. And basically you just fill it in through every number point till you get to your achieved amount, and I left space just in case I need to make another one because that has happened in the past. So something new I'm trying out this month is a spending tracker. So I decided I was very bad at spending money, and I want to see how much money I spend on various things throughout a month so I can see truly where all my money is going. So I just wrote the word spending at the top, and I took a ruler and drew the lines 2 away from each like margins on each side, and just drew a straight line across, and the boxes are 3 down. So basically, you can see what I'm doing is I'm drawing a bunch of those lines, and at the top of the box I'm writing the item spent on that item, and then just write down all the little numbers on each of those little dots that are within the line there. And at the end, you'll total up how much you spent on total throughout all those things. And then at the bottom, it got cut off a little bit, but is my monthly goal of how much I want to save. So the goal for this month is 150, starting out small. And I just do a little succulent to keep track of that. And then I wanted to see how much money I also had coming in. So for my income, I wrote my 2 different jobs. And I know I only get paid twice during the month, so I wrote down a separate box for each of those 2 times for those 2 jobs. And at the bottom I wrote an other, because you know sometimes you have other incomes coming in, like babysitting, other like I have a Redbubble account and little stuff like that, you never know, so I wrote that down there. So to finish off the spread for right now, I have for my weekly spread, so I just wrote March at the top in this fancy font. That was very hard. And I wrote week 1. And I do things a little bit differently. I do my spread Sunday through Saturday instead of the typical Monday through Sunday. So I like to also start with the first of the month. So that's why it's only the first 3 days of the month anyway. So I just did the little leafy design in the alternating colors I've been using throughout the spread, and then wrote the days of the week at the top and like the corresponding numbers to the days, and that's pretty much it. And most people use this as like a what you have to do for the day. I use it as a daily write down, and like just to like describe how my day went and what happened that day, so I can look back and remember what happened instead of remembering, oh, I had to do this and do this. That's why most of my other spreads end up like the blank page next to it. I normally use for like lists of random things I want to get done, or lists of things I want to remember. So this is it for my first bullet journaling video. I hope you guys enjoyed and got some helpful hints of what you might want to do for bullet journaling in the future. Thanks for watching.